Welcome. I wanted to review Macro Express Pro and desktop macros and their uses in general. We're going to look at what a keyboard macro program is, which is a video which is what this is here. We're going to demonstrate a macro actually working, transferring data from a spreadsheet to a notepad. And then finally, we'll review the code for you nerds out there that want to see what it looks like. What is a Windows macro utility? A Windows macro utility records, edits, and plays back mouse movements and keystrokes. It's a little more complex than that because it may require some programs, but it's all built into the macro system. In other words, it's a series of written instructions or recorded keystrokes and mouse actions. There are times where you may record all of your mouse actions and keystrokes and then take that, what has been recorded, and modify it, much like you sometimes have to do with Excel macros. The benefits are that number one, it increases speed, and depending on the situation, it can increase the speed up to I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say 5 times. Productivity improvements at a desk of a normal employee should be approximately 20 minutes to a half hour today. If there's any kind of repetitive task, that means you'll have payback in about 3 days plus the cost of the programmer to program it. An employee wishing to learn it can learn it and have it up and running pretty well on a continuous basis for the rest of his work life with about 20 hours of study. It greatly improves the accuracy because it improves depending on how you're inputting. If you're transferring from a spreadsheet and updating a screen, you can imagine the accuracy increase. It's already in the spreadsheet, quite often output from other systems. Maybe it's been audited, reviewed, and when you input it, it'll be exactly what's on the spreadsheet. In other cases where you created a little input field, in that case it can improve accuracy because you're not hunting around on the screen trying to figure out where to put the data. You just put it in the 2 fields you've pre-programmed. It then goes in, updates it, comes back around and asks for the next input. There's all sorts of uses. You can use it for input inquiries where you may look something up. If it's okay, you can answer a fork and move on to the next item. If it isn't okay, do something else. All these things can be built into the macro. And then once it's written, it's written. It reduces fatigue, obviously, if you're not using your wrists and fingers a lot. It will reduce fatigue. Some samples of current users are United Health Group, Kaiser Permanente, GE Medical Systems, American Express, Stanford University. And you can hit the hotkey here and go over and open a new window into that particular page, and you can see a list of other customers, close to 100, 120 that they've listed. And I know there's others because I've been on the web and found them. For instance, I didn't see University of Florida listed on their list, but they use it. Some applications, you can update screens from spreadsheets. For short repetitive transaction, let's say you're working in QuickBooks, and after you input a vendor bill, you may have to tab or return through 3 or 4 fields, hit the save and close and return to input another one. You can make a short repetitive macro that will do that for you. Doesn't sound like much, but if you're inputting 20 or 30 items, it starts to add up. You can use it for web searches, opening websites, looking things up, printing them out. So there's lots of uses there. So it can be used by any employee with repetitive work. Almost all employees have repetitive work, especially in the clerical area, and significant productivity improvements can be obtained. And like I said, I would think anywhere from 15, 20 minutes to maybe an hour a day that adds up over a year. Plus, we'll be doing a short demo here of the actual macro in action. It's going to copy cells A2 through F2 into variables built into the macro. Then it will go over to the notepad, which could be a computer program which has data input fields, and it will insert this data onto the notepad and then return to QuickBooks and pick up the next 6 data items. So there it goes, inputting into the notepad. Now we'll return to the Excel spreadsheet and pick up the next 6 items. It appears to be running slow, but it is running slow because I'm running this recording video in the background, and I had to slow the macro down compared to what it probably could run. Once it is input on the notepad, if it were on an actual computer system with an input screen, it could save the screen, go back and set up for the next input. These would all be recorded keystrokes on the Macro Express system. Now we'll move on to the nerds. I'm going to show you the keyboard macro which I developed for this demo. The original was created and called Transfer Data from Excel to Notepad. I had to slow it way down and I didn't want to mess it up, so I created a macro for that. This macro is activating the windows. And these are all developed using various aspects. Very nice system for setting up delays and so on. I wrote most of this macro from scratch. This repositions the window to 490/190, which is right about where my mouse is up here, right down in here. I already had Microsoft situated at up in the 0 left-hand corner, so I did, but it would have activated it and then repositioned Excel there. Here I input into the variable time through the use of a prompt, which I put 1000 in for the demo. That means that it will, whenever it uses the delay with this variable time field, it delays at that many milliseconds. And the reason I do that is because depending on the time of day or the system I'm on for this particular macro, I may be able to speed it up or slow it down. I'll test it, see if it works, and then speed it up if I can. In order to do this demo, I had to throw a bunch of 5-second delays in because TechSmith's Camtasia Studio uses so much CPU time that it was flipping ahead and moving down through here too fast. This is where it copied from cell A2 and placed it into code 1 of the variables. If the clipboard contains stop, which you saw in cell, I believe it was A4, it will stop the macro and exit. Then it just does the same input over and over again. This is tabbing on the Excel spreadsheet to the next cell, doing a copy, putting it into code 2. Then it tabs to the next one, puts it in code 3, tabs to the next one, code 4, code 5, code 6. It then does a down arrow underneath the F2 line down to F3 line, waits a few milliseconds, and then it does a control left arrow, which is Excel's command to go to the beginning of a line. That sets it up for the next input. I then activate Notepad, which then outputs these as code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 into Notepad. And then it just rotates back through to Excel and begins the repeat cycle all over again. I have it repeating 1000 times. In the case of your situation, we would be not, of course, normally inputting into Notepad, but probably into some input screen fields. But it's pretty straightforward, and you can memorize some of those things. Thanks for watching.